The National Education Association, the nation's largest teachers union, is recommending that educators read Genderqueer, a book that has been removed from some schools across the country due to its sexually explicit contents. The National Desk first reported that story. Joining us now with more is Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi. Welcome back, Erika.
Good morning.
So Genderqueer has been taken off shelves in some places over concerns it's not appropriate for children, but in this case it's being recommended to educators instead. So why is this so controversial?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the reason it's controversial is because people are just sort of feeling like the unions keep sort of poking parents in the eye. But part of me thinks in some ways this is a good thing, because most educators, if they open that book, are going to see that it is not appropriate for a school setting. Now, the reason that they're doing this, again, is because of this banned book debate, which I think we'll talk about hopefully more in the interview. But so I understand parents are just feeling like, oh my gosh, like, can we just focus on something else? Why is this on your recommended summer reading list for your members? But I don't really know any teachers, including in the NEA, that think that the book's appropriate for school. So my suspicion is if members actually do decide to follow their advice, they're going to say, yep, this isn't appropriate for schools. If you want it, go buy it for your kid at the bookstore or the town library.
Okay, so while the book has topped the American Library Association's list of the most challenged books nationwide in recent years, it is again on a list for adults, right? Educators, not the kids.
Correct.
A spokesperson for the NEA told us that they provide, quote, inclusive resources to its members, including books that share the triumphs and struggles of people of all backgrounds and genders, so they may better understand the diverse life experienced by their colleagues, students, and families they serve. They also tell us that they additionally feature books from the New York Times bestsellers and Library Association lists. So why do you believe it's still a concern despite all that?
So first of all, their answer is loaded up with the usual buzzwords. But for example, they say that diverse lived experiences. Well, okay, but if the diverse lived experiences of students and their families and their teachers include pictures of graphic sex acts using sex toys, I think we can all agree that those lived experiences don't need to be in books that are being curated and purchased by schools.
One issue that this debate seems to have is that there is a different definition being used by some people about the word ban.
Yeah.
Why does that matter so much?
Because it has made the conversation completely dishonest, right? People are not working from the same definition. So, for example, the NEA, the American Library Association, and PEN America, which tracks these book challenges, they're all using the word ban as a synonym for restriction. So what they're saying is that if a book is moved to a different section of the library for older kids, if a book is removed from a library shelf, because it's deemed inappropriate, but still available, again, at the bookstore, at your local town library, they're still calling that a ban. Whereas other people, and I'd be on this, side of it, are saying that that obviously a school cannot include every single book that exists in their classrooms or in their libraries, right? Decisions are made in order to curate book collections. So we would say, it is not a ban. Like, for example, I'm not aware that Donald Trump's book, Art of the Deal, is in my local high school library. I wouldn't call that a ban. They decided not to stock it. So a ban to me would be you can't buy it, you can't get it out at your local library. But moving a book or restricting a book from young children is certainly not a ban. And unfortunately, the unions disagree and are using it to mean restriction.
Yeah, okay. So very different definitions there.
Very different definitions.
Is this more of just a debate at this point, Erika, or do you see any real actions being taken next?
Again, kind of back to my point about where it feels like they're just kind of poking parents in the eye. I don't think that this is going to go away because, again, when people are talking about different definitions, the other thing that's in this is a lot of smearing and vilification. So a parent who objects to a book suddenly finds themselves sort of being labeled by the White House, by the unions, as bigots or hateful or non-inclusive. And so I think because that rhetoric is so hot, and again, parents are simply saying, we just don't want our students to be given access to these materials in school. And I understand the argument, well, it's on the internet anyway, what's the big deal? But I mean, that's like saying, well, because you can look up pictures of naked women on the internet, we should stock Playboy and Hustler in the school library. It's a silly argument, in my opinion. So these challenges, I think, will continue at the local level. That is where these decisions are made. But because at the national level, and because we're hearing so much from the White House and from the Department of Education, et cetera, it just seems like it's going to stay red hot for a little longer. And unfortunately, if we could get to a place where we were having an honest conversation and a substantive debate, we could actually probably solve some of these issues.
Yeah, well, the conversation indeed will continue. All right. Well, Parents Defending Education's Director of Outreach, Erika Sanzi, thanks so much for joining us here on the National Desk.
Thanks for having me.